Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast, a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write about movies, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
And my name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and I am also co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast.
Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Go check out all our projects. And while we're talking about checking things out, if you're not a patron, consider joining. And if you are a patron, go check out our bonus episode. We put them out every single week for $5 a month. You get access to them and get to vote in monthly polls. This week, we talk about 1989 satire Heathers, which we had a blast talking about. And for two of us, it was a lovely rewatch. And for one of us, a first time. So it's a great conversation. Go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for this week's movies, we've got a great range. We're going to be talking about Alien Romulus, Skincare, and Close to You. And we're going to kick things off with Close to You, which I saw. And it is a Canadian drama. It's a queer and trans film. And it's written and directed by Dominic Savage, with a story by Dominic Savage and Elliot Page. And it stars Elliot Page as well as Hilary Back. And this premiered at TIFF. And let me give you the synopsis. Sam, played by Elliot Page, hasn't been home since his transition. After 4 years in Toronto, he takes a long-dreaded trip back to his hometown for his father's birthday. Once there, he confronts unresolved wounds and reconnects with an old friend. Yeah, so it's a pretty... That's pretty much the movie. Like, it's a pretty simple plot. He's getting ready to go back home, and he talks to his roommate about it and how he's dreading it. And even though his family has been very supportive of his transition, he still has kind of mixed feelings about it. And so when he's on the train heading back to his hometown, he runs into Catherine, who is an old friend of his, and they were you learn over the course of the film they were best friends when they were teens. But it's very clear that there was something else going on. And you later learn, not a surprise, that Sam was in love with Catherine, and Catherine reveals that she kind of had some complicated feelings. But they both share that they each were each other's home and that they felt so comfortable with each other. And it's this really, really beautiful connection. And they keep reconnecting over the course of the film because Sam is in town for the weekend. So they keep running into each other in the downtown center as well as in various other places. So that's just lovely. And it's beautiful to see. And Catherine keeps saying, like, you look so great. You look so happy. And it's just so nice. And when Sam goes back to his family home, everybody is like really, really nice, really like overly supportive, almost to the point where it feels like they're being like overly polite. And he then has conversations with each family member, like with each of his sisters and his brother and with his parents. And everybody is like really, really lovely. Like his mom is talking about how, you know, she is so proud of him and she calls him her brave boy, and she accidentally misgenders him and she like berates herself and feels terrible about it. But it does kind of seem like Sam has to like console her rather than the other way around. So you can see how that would be like emotionally draining. And then his father is also really, really supportive and talks about how he's so proud of him and that he's, you know, living his life and he's happy because when he was a kid, he was so unhappy and miserable, but his dad felt some sense of relief that he was there so he could take care of him. But then when he decided to move away, to move to Toronto and he wasn't there, he felt so helpless, like he couldn't be there to help him. And so when he called to talk about his life and his transition, he sounded so happy. And his father they have this really sweet moment where he talks about how it's like the happiest moment in his life. And he has these great moments with his sisters. where he talks about his sexuality. And it's just like these really lovely moments, except for one person, because there's always one person. And this is his brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law is a complete fucking transphobic asshole. And he like is just weird right from the jump. And throughout the film, he like is confrontational, and he's like, he kind of alludes to things like, oh, well, we have to have all these weird rules and we have to, cater to you. And it's really gross. And so it like all builds to a head, and it leads to this kind of, I don't want to say explosive confrontation because it's not melodramatic that way, but just it feels like a really honest and authentic portrayal of what could have happened if this was a real story. And so it's just a really, really emotional and moving film. What's fascinating to me about the making of this film, so Dominic Savage likes to build films around a particular actor. And so he wanted to have a story about someone reconnecting with a lost love. And then when he met Elliot Page and they started talking, he wanted it to build this film around Elliot Page and then to talk about Elliot Page's own transition. And so there is no actual script. Like there is a script, there is a screenplay, but there's no dialogue. It all is improvised, which is just really interesting because it doesn't feel like it's really improvised, but it does feel really raw and vulnerable. And Elliot Page is fantastic. I love his performance in this. And it feels like a really personal film in many ways, probably because it is, because these are probably conversations he's either had or thoughts that he's thought about. So yeah, I really thought this was great. And it's I was extremely emotional watching it. It made me cry a lot. But it's a quiet film. It's kind of a little slow moving. But I dug it. I like that. And so I just thought this was a really great film.
Well, now I feel like I got to finish it. I saw the first 11 minutes, everybody. Saw it until Elliot Page gets on the train. And then
that's when it gets so good, is when he gets on the train.
Yeah, I was interrupted by two small demons. So
that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's impressive that it's improvised but doesn't feel improvised, because that's a common critique I think we all have of movies when actors are given too much leeway to kind of do and say whatever they want. It's usually not good.
Right. And it's funny because in the very beginning, like the roommate character, it feels a little stilted, and I was like, uh-oh. Like I was a little concerned. But then as it goes along, it feels like it flows much better and it feels much more natural. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Evan, that it does, like it can feel off when things are too heavily improvised. But no, I read that after the fact and I was like, holy shit, I didn't know that. Like I was very impressed by that. So yeah.
That was actually going to be my next question, whether you knew that going into the movie or
No.
not, and you answered it.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And also another cool thing is that Elliot Page and Heather Beck are friends in real life. Like they worked on a film like a long, long time ago. So they have this like built-in rapport already, which is very evident, which I thought was very cool. Oh, Hillary Beck. I'm sorry, I said Heather Beck. But yeah, so I liked that. Like their scenes together are the most tender and kind of feel the most authentic. So yeah, so I really, really liked this.
Nice.
Cool. I'm glad. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I want to see it too.
Yeah, I want to hear what you both think. All right. So that is close to you. And now we're going to switch gears and talk about a psychological thriller, Skincare, starring Elizabeth Banks. And let me get...
You digging up the old press notes there?
I am. I'm digging up the old something. Yeah, this stars Elizabeth Banks, also has an appearance by Nathan Fillion in a small role, as well as Michaela J. Rodriguez, Louis Pullman, and Luis Gerardo Mendez. And this is directed by Austin Peters, and it's written by Peters, as well as Sam Freilich and Deering Regan. And let me give you The synopsis. This is a long one. Legendary facialist to the stars, Hope Goldman is preparing to enter the next phase of her career by launching her own retail line of skincare products. However, she begins to sense that someone is trying to sabotage her business and destroy her life after she becomes entangled in a series of menacing situations. Consumed with paranoia, Hope goes on an investigation across Hollywood to find out who is responsible and save her business by any means necessary. So, yeah.
That's fairly accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, it is fairly accurate. Yeah, so Hope is very excited about this launch of her skincare line, and she feels like this is going to take her business to the next level. And she does a TV show interview on this really popular talk show. And she's so excited. Everything's going her way until very rapidly it's not, because a guy is moving his business in literally across the street. Not even a street. It's like a little plaza. Yeah. And he's doing skincare too. And she's like, what the fuck? And, and he's like, oh, I hope you don't think I'm encroaching on your territory. Ha, 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 ha. And she very much obviously feels that way. And
well, she says something shitty to him too.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
I don't really think we have the same clientele. And it's like, oh, ouch.
Yeah, well, she doesn't like his, she has very, clean, white kind of interior, and his is, colors and neon and, curtain to the back room kind of a place, So she's definitely made some judgments, just kind of eyeballing the interior of his business.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's a shitty person. Right away, I would say that she's a shitty person based on some other things that she says. But yeah, and so she is very much very paranoid, and she's convinced that he's out to get her. And then one of her clients, one of her longtime clients, played by Wendy Malick, the great Wendy Malick, calls her and is like, what is this weird email? And it's like an email all about how she wants to get fucked and she needs a hard dick. She's been having a tough time.
Yeah. It's quite graphic.
Yes. And it went out to her entire client list. Not even a CC, BCC, nothing. No, it went out to everyone. And so, yeah, she's getting these weird emails are being sent, and she's like, I'm being hacked. And she's convinced that it's the guy across the way. And then later, a guy comes into her office when she's with a client, and Michaela J. Rodriguez, who is her partner as well as the receptionist, a guy comes in, a very strange guy, and he's very menacing, and basically it's because he's like, I saw the ad, I just want to get laid, and he thinks that this is a sex shop, for some sex work. And she finds out that an ad has been put out with her face, talking about, fantasies and sex work. So she's freaking out. And then every guy she turns to for help, because she also finds out that her segment didn't air because she got bumped by the other guy.
Yep.
And so she goes to Nathan Fillion and hey, you need to, get this on the air. And then he makes a move on her, and which she thwarts. And then she goes to another guy when her tires are slashed at work, and he makes a move on her. Apparently everybody is just so enraptured by her and under her spell that they're all throwing themselves at her. But yeah, and then she's utterly convinced that this guy, is it Angel? Am I forgetting his name? Is it Angel?
Yeah, on Hell.
I know. I was going to say it's on Hell, right? Yeah, I know I'm saying Angel. Sorry. Yeah, so she's convinced that On Hell is out to get her, and she's trying to get the cops involved, and then she's trying to get this other sleazy guy played by Lewis Pullman. But she doesn't know he's sleazy, although she should know he's sleazy because he seems sleazy.
The next day after she hung out with him is when she finds out about the email.
Yes.
That's what sets in motion all of this stuff, is the next day after she hangs out with him. And then he positions himself in such a way that I got the answers to all your problems.
Right.
I'm a life coach and a self-defense guy, and I can, teach you self-defense, and I can help you take sexy photos and run campaigns and turn your reputation around. And you find out that he hired the guy who came to her office to assault her. And then he's, because then he also grabs him in a headlock and is like, I'll get you out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shocked. I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then she eventually finds out that it is him, but things have just escalated where the mechanic guy said that he was going to take care of it. And so then he goes to Angel's house, and poor Angel is just doing karaoke, minding his own business.
Home
Just a
alone doing
lonely guy singing
karaoke.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
It sounds so sad to me, actually. I'm like, karaoke is meant to be like a social activity. Like, it makes me sad that he's just at home, like, singing karaoke by himself.
Oh, I kind of loved it. I was like, he loves karaoke so much, he's willing to do it alone. Yeah. But so, yeah. And then Angel gets beaten up and in critical condition, has to go to the hospital. And then the mechanic guy is also beaten up by Angel. So he's like wounded in the car and almost passes out, and then gets hit by a truck and dies.
T-boned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so it builds and builds, and like the cops are there and they're investigating. And then meantime, Jordan, Lewis Pullman, the sleazebag, he's put in an anonymous tip against Hope saying that she's acting erratic and she's been stalking and threatening her neighbor Angel, and he just doesn't want anything bad to happen. And so she gets arrested. He gets arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then because of all the publicity, her skincare apparently is flying off the shelves.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's how it ends. So, gang, what did you guys think?
I liked the vibe of it, but I just didn't feel like it ended up going anywhere super interesting. Like, I liked the score, and I liked the overall just kind of like tension that was created, but it just didn't go anywhere interesting. Like, Lewis Pullman, he's the obvious person, like, all along, that he's the one doing all this stuff to her, because it's like he shows up and then all this stuff happens, and there's really no mystery to it. Like, you see, like, very early on that he hired the guy to go to her office, and it's not, a big leap to assume he's behind all of the stuff. So by the time it gets to the point where the cop shows her the video of him, the night vision video of him slashing her tires, I don't know. It's obvious that he's the one who's doing it. There's no real mystery. It would have been much more interesting if if she was following any type of like detective process to figure out who was behind it. It would be much more interesting if we knew more of why he glommed onto her in the first place, and why he's like ruining her life so that he can insert himself into it. I honestly think it would have been much more interesting if there was like a backstory to like she is the one who got him, why he ended up in prison somehow. Or even if it was like him and Angel were working together because somehow like they're a couple and like, one of them was wronged by her in the past, and they're like, okay, now we've concocted this like elaborate revenge scheme, and somehow they're working together. Because the movie does give these like occasional looks at Angel like across the way, like maybe knowing like maybe he is behind some of this stuff.
Right.
I just think that would have been much more interesting than actually what it was. And after we finished, Shauna actually made a great point about how, she has a lot of like smart, capable women that are around her, but she just goes to all these idiot men for help. And it's like they just end up fucking things up worse and worse and worse. Like the mechanic guy, I think his name is Armin, Eric Palladino. He's just like a meathead, like low rent mob guy who just completely fucks up the situation. Like you said, he's wounded, then he gets, killed in the car crash. There's like video of her at his place. There's, it's just an absolute mess. So I wish I liked this more. I liked the premise. I thought it was a really good premise. I liked the score. I liked the kind of just overall tension that was created. I just wish it went somewhere. And then I also looked up the true story that it's based on. And actually it's kind of surprising. I read that Elizabeth Banks got pretty far into making this movie and didn't know it was based on a true story. And B, a lot of the things, like the high level stuff, is kind of accurate, except for the fact that like the woman who it's based on, she was arrested and charged for trying to like hire a hitman, and it was kind of
Yes.
like a joke text, basically, that was not a real, like, she wasn't really trying to hire a hitman. But the whole thing about like the stalking and like the Craigslist ads and all that stuff was actually true, and it was like someone that she was friends with was doing that, and that's pretty scary.
Yeah,
So
it was two dudes that she was friends with, and one of them, Lewis Pullman's character Jordan, is also that real life person that he's playing is also in the Bling Ring, which is kind of interesting.
oh yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So I liked Elizabeth Banks in this. I think she was good. And I liked some of the other supporting performances. I think Lewis Pullman, skeeved me out, man. It was so. By the time we got to him, like in his like skivvies, like lifting weights in front of that mirror, I'm like, ooh, this guy always felt like a little bit sleazy, but for some reason, that whole scene, just him like lifting weights in his underwear and doing coke before doing these weird YouTube videos, just really icked me out.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, what did you think?
I think I pretty much feel exactly the same way. I really liked this. The movie does ratchet up the tension over time, but I think that it kind of evolves into nothing. And I don't buy her Norma Desmond, thing at the end where she's like, I don't buy that for a minute. It makes it seem like the whole thing's been in her head the whole time. It's a really bizarre choice in a movie that's really grounded, even though it's bizarre, even though it's grounded in reality. And I found that really off-putting. And I also found it off-putting how they were calling her like the makeup killer or whatever. At the end, it's like, well, the only person who like died accidentally, not related to just in a car accident. Whoever's driving that, I'm sure was not involved in this. So, and I know that that's, it's TV and whatever you're going to do. And
I think what the real life woman now calls her facials killer facials or something. It's like a joke. It's like a nod to all this.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yes, and she is threatening legal action against the people who made this movie. So, I say good luck with that. But
yeah,
I don't know if Lewis Pullman's the right person to be playing this part, because for the first 10 minutes that he was on screen, I was like, is this Bill Pullman's kid? This has got to be Bill Pullman's kid. Is this Bill Pullman's kid? It is, right? I mean, he looks just like him.
Yeah, he does.
Except he doesn't sound like him, which is too bad, because his dad has one of the great weird voices.
Yes.
Yeah, but he does have a great voice.
You know what's funny? You didn't say that. He's in The Starling Girl, and you didn't say that. So I wonder if you found his performance more immersive in that movie than you did here.
Maybe. Or
maybe he just looks more like Bill Pullman now.
Well, maybe, but he was also just so obviously the creep, like right from the beginning, that there was just no mystery to it. And I did like watching Elizabeth, because I like Elizabeth Banks a lot. I always have. I like watching her, kind of go off the deep end and then try to rein everything in fruitlessly at the end. And just, I'm always kind of amazed when people make consciously bad decisions. When movie characters, there's a difference between movie characters that are dumb, and then there's movie characters that make bad decisions on purpose. And when she sees that Jordan Lewis Pullman is the one slashing her tires, she doesn't like put an end to everything immediately. And she could, because the police are showing her the video, and it's just like, oh, I just met that kid 2 weeks ago. He's kind of become a friend of mine. Fuck,
Right.
And now I know if you do that, the movie's only 55 minutes long. But, hey, I'm all about a short movie, but I don't know. Yeah, I felt like the last 15 minutes were just a drag, in the sense of they didn't drag, but they were just a bummer. I was just like, I see, I was right about where this is going all along. It is going to go this way. And then just the fucking, she's like gleeful. She decides to be gleeful that she's being arrested, and she like uses the searchlights on the helicopters, as like spot, as implied to be TV lights, and she's telling the police, you guys can have some of my creams. They're in my house. It's like, what the fuck is this? This is stupid. This is actually stupid. It made me, if I think about it anymore, it's going to make me mad. So, so maybe I'll just stop. I'm glad that my rage can provide you with some giggle content, though.
Always, and always.
I know, but don't you when you're watching these movies sometimes, because you two don't, I know that you two have really strong reactions about movies, but you don't ever seem to get as angry as I do. Because
sometimes I do.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes I do.
This is one of those things, though. This is like, it's just so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think the stupidity of a lot of movies that's not my tipping point for enrage.
Yeah.
For rage, the way it is for you. I think that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will tell you, I think you two are being way too kind on this film. I think you're being very nice in your criticisms, because I fucking hated this. I thought it was terrible. Hated it.
Wow.
Hated everything about it. Everything. And I like Elizabeth Banks too.
Even MJ? You hated MJ?
No, I didn't hate her, but I hated her character and that she was wasted and given nothing to do, because Michaela J. Rodriguez is amazing. I love her. She's such a great actor, and she has so much talent, and you don't see any of that here. And Louis Pullman, he's great. And he's probably, I don't want to say he's the best, because maybe Elizabeth Banks is, but yeah, no, I thought there were a lot of bad performances. I could not get past the bad production design, the bad costuming, her ridiculous outfits. I couldn't get past her bad makeup. And because, I'm sorry, you're hinging this on an esthetician who has a skincare line coming out. Her skin better be fucking flawless, and her makeup should be on point. And it's just not. And again, I'm like focusing on these like little details, because they keep showing her moisturizer and her retinol serum and her toner, and they're showing all these things. We don't see her use sunscreen, which is the number one anti-aging product you can use. We see her smoking, which again, if she really cared about her skin, she would never be smoking. So it's just like all these little disconnects and all these things. And I'm like, just so irritated. And I'm like, anyway, so everything, like all the minor details just irritated me. Whereas if this was a better film, if this was better written, better acted, better cinematography, production design, all of that, better pacing, I would overlook it. I might have like a passing comment like, oh, hey, that's kind of weird. But, and again, I say this as someone who like, I love skincare. I love beauty like products. I follow a lot of estheticians and dermatologists on social media because I'm a weirdo. But yeah, so I noticed these things, and it just bothered me. And to me, the beauty element, like that is ripe territory for exploration. Like you have movies like The Neon Demon or Death Becomes Her or Advantageous, which look at beauty and aging and fear of aging that women have, and they explore them in these really fascinating ways and the kind of destructive side of beauty. And this could have done so many of those things, but instead, this could have been any business. It didn't have to be a skincare line.
That's true.
So,
well,
this irritated me.
No, it's funny though, because so one of the things that Shauna pointed out when we were watching the movie is her bad extensions in her hair.
Yes.
And how they seemed like the color of the hair was not matching up. And she was like, I just keep feeling like this is some type of intentional choice to show that she's like not as good at any of these things as she thinks she is. So I'm wondering if maybe the things like the bad makeup, I mean, the smoking definitely is just her becoming unglued and like knowing that she shouldn't be smoking and is still doing it anyway. But I'm wondering if these things are part of the commentary on this character being like, she thinks that she's hot shit, but she's not nearly as good at any of these things as she thinks that she is.
And that's very possible.
Yeah.
Very possible.
That's the impression I got, because she dresses completely trashy, and her makeup's always fucked up. Not always, but most of the time.
Most of the time it's fucked up.
And she's always having financial problems. So I just figured that she's on the verge. She's a shyster, and she's on the verge of not being one anymore. And she's like grasping, like she's holding on by her fingernails. But this is in some way, this whole weird Lewis Pullman fake stalker thing that he's doing. I don't even know what to call it. I mean,
that's fake stalkers, right? Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Is kind of what's, going to make it all come apart. But she probably would have come apart eventually anyway, because she's just,
she's broke and she's she doesn't have the money to rent for her place.
Right.
And she's has the nerve to go to her landlord and say, kick this other guy out, when she's dodging him and doesn't even have the rent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love how she's like hiding behind the car. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So maybe it's an intentional choice, and that would make this a better movie.
I don't know that it makes it better, but I think that
I guess for me, for my criticisms, but I just.
Yeah, but I thought that was the intention, that she's kind of, like if you went to a society gathering and she was there too, she'd be like the nouveau riche one everyone's making fun of.
Right. So. Well, then why is she on that show then? Is it just because she's friends with Nathan Fillion's character? Is that the only reason?
Seems like maybe.
Because her spot does get pulled pretty quickly.
Does get bumped, yeah. Yeah, it does.
Well, they got the email too, so.
That's true.
The producers got that email too.
Yeah, I just think there were a lot of squandered opportunities here. I think, because I agree with you. Yeah, because I agree with you, Evan. I think this is a great premise. I was really excited to see this. And I think it could have gone in a lot of really fascinating, compelling directions. And I just, nope.
I feel like, unfortunately, in the last decade, I feel like it's a lot of Elizabeth Banks movies.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I still haven't seen Cocaine Bear. Maybe it's amazing.
It is amazing. I love it. It's so much fun. It's stupid fun. It's a blast. And I will say, good for her for trying out different genres. So she takes risks in her career. So good for her. I like that about her. Mm-hmm. All right. Do we have any final thoughts before we move on?
Nah.
No, I'm just bummed that this was not better.
Yeah.
I know. It is a bummer. All right. Well, let's talk about our final film for the show, Alien Romulus, the 7th Alien film. This is directed by Fede Alvarez. It's also written by him, as well as Rodo Guyez. Sorry for my mispronunciation. This stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, Spike Fern, and Eileen Wu. And let me give you the synopsis. Oh, this also takes place 20 years after Alien and 37 years before Aliens. So it is smack dab, almost in the middle of them. And the synopsis is, while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. Yeah, that is true.
Fair enough.
Ooh.
So Kaylee Spaney plays Rain, and she is the protagonist of the film, and she's on this colony that is not doing well, and she's put in her hours so she can get off world, so she can go to this other world, because the colony that she's on never sees sunlight. So she's born on this, born in this colony, and she has never seen a single day of sun. And her parents died working in the mines. And so she's really excited that she's put in all of her hours. So now she can get time off. And she's going to go with her brother, Andy, who we find out as he gets beaten up that he is a synthetic person. And she goes to the office so she can get her time off, so her and Andy can go away. And her access is denied because now she needs to put in double the amount of hours so she can leave the colony. And she's despondent and upset, of course. And then she runs into her ex-boyfriend, and he's like, hey, we're going to do this run where we're going to get off the colony, and we're going to check out this derelict space station, and we're going to get some cryo chambers so we can go to the new planet and see the sun too. And that's what they do. And then shit hits the fan. Dave, do you want to flesh out more.
The ship that they think is a decommissioned ship that they're just going to be stealing some pods from is actually not decommissioned. It's just been ravaged by aliens, by the xenomorphs, and they're all in one side of. I can't so Romulus and Remus, blah blah blah, blah the wolf, and then but there are two.
Well, wait, we should back up and say it is part of Greek mythology for those who don't know.
Part of Greek mythology.
Yeah. So there are these two space stations in the space station. They're like two halves.
Right. So it seems like whoever was in the Remus side got Remus sealed off just in time to keep the xenomorphs out, and the Romulus side is overrun. But the Remus side has all of the face huggers in captivity.
Oh, yeah. God.
There's so many face huggers.
There are so many face huggers.
Oh, boy.
So many.
And so basically the movie becomes kind of standard. It's kind of this interesting balance. I don't know if balance is the right word. It lands somewhere on the timeline. It lands between Alien and Aliens, but it also lands in between them in tone. It's more, it's darker like Alien, but it does have some action shit like Aliens.
And that was an intentional choice.
And I didn't know when the movie took place. I assumed it took place going into it. I knew nothing about this except that it was a new Alien movie by Fede Alvarez. And I just assumed it took place after Covenant, which thank God it does not. And I'm watching it and I'm like, wait a minute, because Rook is in this. You know, like Rook's, half of him is in this.
Yeah, Ash.
Or yes, Ash. Excuse me. Played.
No, they call him Rook. Yeah, but I'm like, that's Ash. Right. Yeah.
And he's played by the ghost of Ian Holm, with the weird approval of his estate, and it looks very strange because it's like it's Ian Holm, but it's not Ian Holm. It's kind of it's very similar to when. Which great dead English actor showed up in one of the Star Wars?
Peter Cushing.
It's
Peter
in
Cushing.
Rogue One. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much like Peter Cushing showing up, and it's like it's Peter Cushing, but it's not Peter Cushing.
But it's not. Yeah. It's
so putting all that aside, I actually found this once it kind of got moving, because you kind of know what's coming, and you're just sort of waiting for it, and it does a good. Fede Alvarez and his screenwriter and his editor did well with, I think, ratcheting up the tension from this sort of mundane opening to, when the ex-boyfriend's like, hey, we're going to go to this space station or this ship. And I was just like, oh no, here we go. And it makes the mistake ? Of introducing a new alien hybrid, which is even grosser than the alien hybrid in Alien Resurrection.
Oh, you're jumping to the end.
I mean, but it's kind of standard alien like fare. I mean, we've all
find the aliens. They're there. You're not expecting to be there. Oh crap! How are we going to deal with them? And now we're on the run from them. How do we take control or escape?
But it does a few things differently, like the whole the use of gravity, where like the station cycles. It's like gravity.
Right, the gravity goes on and off.
There's moments. Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting.
But it reminded me of the gag in Alien Resurrection when they're stuck underwater and you realize that the xenomorphs are really good swimmers.
They sure fucking are.
And one of the things that I like that this does is I feel like you get hints that the xenomorph is really smart in not in Alien so much because it's just one alien, who the fuck knows. But in Aliens, the way they're crawling through the ceiling because they know they can't come in through the doors, that they're like really smart, and they kind of ignore that in Alien 3, but then they really go to pains to explain it in Alien Resurrection. And in this movie, they do too. It's I wouldn't say they go to pains, but it's just very clear that the aliens are, in addition to being completely lethal in every way, are also probably smarter than you. So, I didn't love the one thing. I liked when the gravity's not working, Evan, the so you're weightless, right? But it'll cycle, as Megan was saying, it'll cycle the gravity. I don't know why it's expunging it's doing something. And so there'll be gravity for like a minute and a half or 2 minutes or something like that. And so there's this sequence where Callie, how do you pronounce her last name?
I think it's Kaylee
Spaney. She has to shoot a bunch of the xenomorphs, but it's in zero gravity. And they've learned by this point that the blood is acidic. And so then they have to swim in 0 G and avoid all of the acid. And I actually kind of found that not very tense at all. I don't know. The other things I found that worked, though, is when typical smart alien, Kaylee Spaney is, climbing up an elevator shaft and she's on the ladder and this elevator is hurtling down because the gravity's been turned back on and there's an alien right beside her and, the elevator goes by, it kills a bunch of other aliens below and she thinks, oh, I got away. Nope. The alien ducked into a crawl space just like she had to avoid the,
because they're smart.
So it's things like that I really appreciated.
Yeah, but something in the plot that we both haven't discussed that's a super important plot point is that Andy is he's glitching because he's an older model and he's very sweet, very kind, very lovely. His prime directive, which was designed by Rain's father, is to protect Rain and to do what's in Rain's best interests. But then with Rook or Ash, because I don't know why I can't call him Rook. It feels weird to me to call him Rook. But Rook, Ash, whichever you want to call him, he has a chip or program that gives authorization to all of the doors in the station. And so they take that out and put it in Andy so he can open up all the doors and speak to Mother, which I like that it's a great callback to the computer program Mother in Alien. But then that also changes his personality and he's no longer the kind, gentle person. He's very assertive, very ruthless and cutthroat and is just kind of well, this is what we got to do because we got to do the mission. And that's all that matters. Yes, he's corporate. That damn Wayland Yutani.
His prime directive is to do whatever is best for the company, which he actually says.
Exactly.
He's well,
yes,
to do whatever is best for the company. And it's just ooh, this is bad. Yeah. What did you think of this? We didn't add, we haven't talked about that.
So I had problems with this. So I liked a lot of this. I liked parts of this. I liked 2/3 of the cast. The men in this, except for Andy, the guy,
he's very good.
I love him. He's amazing in Rye Lane. He's so good. I love him. But the other two dudes, the ex-boyfriend and Bjorn, who's the asshole cousin, I did not like them at all.
Bjorn was hard to understand. His Cockney accent was so heavy.
Okay, I didn't have that problem, yeah. But that's fair. That is a fair problem. But I just didn't like either of them. I didn't think they were really great actors. I really liked Isabella Merced, which makes me very excited for her role as Dina in The Last of Us, season 2. Kaylee Spaney, I always love in everything. So I think she's really great, doing a good job here, especially as a final girl. She's great. Yeah, and I liked Eileen Wu. I thought this is her first film, and I looked her up because I was like, oh, I like her. What else is she in? Nothing. This is her absolute first acting role, and what a banger to start with, because it's a big fucking deal. But I liked the cast. I'll tell you what I loved. Loved the aesthetics. It is so gritty and grimy, and I think the lo-fi nature of it fits perfectly in between Alien and Aliens, and I love that. It's very clear there was a lot of attention to detail, so it would feel in between. It would not feel out of place and jarring, and I think it nails that. I agree with you about the acid scene. I did not find that tense at all, and I know it's supposed to be, but I'm just this is supposed to be tense.
Obviously, they're going to get through it because she's the final girl, and he's the fucking android, and he's got a different purpose than androids that have been split in half in other Alien movies.
Yes. Although Isabella Merced was still alive at this point, because something else that happens in the plot that we didn't talk about is that she's pregnant, and so she kind of sits things out a lot, which that always irks me, because I'm sorry, somebody who's pregnant doesn't always need to be sitting out, but whatever. So she's sitting out, and then what happens is she has a problem and they got to get her out of there.
It's attacked by the xenomorph.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. And so, so then Andy gives her some DNA from like some tests that they've done with xenomorphs, and they found that the xenomorphs like merge with other creatures' DNA.
The Ian Holm android, let's just call him Ian Holm, has manufactured a formula that can basically make humans and aliens evolve together into a new
that's it
into a new life form. And so she's been injured, and she's really in a bad way because she's been speared right, basically in that tender part under your clavicle but above your heart.
Right. But Rain tells her, don't do this, don't take it, because she doesn't trust them. But then she does it anyway.
Well, she thinks she's dying, I think. So,
yes.
And who knows, maybe she is. So it doesn't alter her DNA, but it does alter her fetus's DNA. And it gestates very quickly. And when it arrives, it is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen on screen.
Yes, the gangly limbs, the weird face that's very much like from Prometheus, like the white guy from the beginning, like the very pale, kind of marbly looking guy. It kind of looks like his face. The ribs, the very gaunt ribs. Oh, it's disgusting is the perfect word. It's revolting.
That sounds gruesome. Is it like a detailed birth scene, or is it kind of just like...
Kind
of, yeah. And then like Rain sees like it's, how like the pods are and how they kind of like fold open. Yeah, that happens, and there's a baby inside.
But when the pod opens, the baby looks completely human. And so
yeah. That's what's so unnerving.
Right, and then it transforms into this like thing, and it kills Isabella Merced. I thought for a moment, I was like, well, maybe it's just going to bond with its mother. Nah.
No. I know. I thought that too, though. I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's just going to bond with mom.
It decided to suck mom's blood, basically.
Yeah, like a vampire. It was crazy. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that was skin to skin contact.
I guess so.
I guess so.
Well played, sir.
Yeah. So I liked that at first. Because to me, it takes what I loved the most about Prometheus, which is the abortion scene, and kind of takes it, like it ratchets it up to the next level. And I was like, this is so crazy. They're having like an alien baby. But then in the third act, or not the third act, because I would argue there's probably more acts.
There's like 6 acts in this movie.
Yeah, because I was like, it's probably like the 5th or 6th. So the last act, I should say, is it feels so much like a retread of Aliens, where Rain, thinks she gets away, thinks she's safe, and then surprise, she's not. And that's my big problem with this film. My huge, huge problem is that it is such a retread of things that happen in Alien, Aliens, Alien Prometheus, probably even the other aliens too. And to me, it doesn't feel original enough. It doesn't feel innovative enough. And I guess if I felt the writing was better, if I cared more about the characters, if the pacing was tighter, if I felt more tension, I could overlook that.
You could trim a good 15 minutes off this movie and not miss anything.
Easily. Yeah. So I think, for me, the aesthetics are stunning. Like the visuals, the production design, incredible. And I know like reading about the behind the scenes, there are a ton of practical effects. But Betty Alvarez says they're all practical effects. I don't know if that's true.
The chest exploder, that blood is CGI as fuck. And it looks shitty.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. But the fact that so much of it was done, like the stages were built and there are so many practical effects, like I think that's cool. And it looks good. I like the vibe, and I like that it's leaning into horror. I like that it's gory. I like the concept of an alien baby. And I liked some of the actors, but yeah, to me, it's just such a retread of familiar terrain, such a retread. And I'm just like, so many things that we've seen before And not just thematically, but literal plot points. And so that was just, considering that Aliens is my absolute favorite movie of all time, and I adore Alien as well, I'm just like, I just want to watch those movies. Like, you got to give me something different here.
I think the way I feel about this is I think I liked it a little better than you did, because some of it I did find really tense. I found a lot of the set design, production design really well done, like you did. And it felt like this stuff was lived in as opposed to just being sets. In that way, It felt a lot like Alien and Aliens.
Agreed.
But I hated Prometheus and really hated, like fucking hated Alien Covenant. That movie, I can't think about it. It's so fucking awful. And one of my least favorite people in the world loved it. So there's that too. I just kind of felt like we're getting back to sort of the origin of what made Alien so great in the first place, was the fact that it scared the fuck out of you. And we're getting closer to that. And I appreciated that. I don't really think I was ever scared in this. I was creeped out a few times. When you see the face huggers coming out of suspended animation because their body temperatures are being raised.
It's warming. Yeah, that's great. That's a great scene.
That's super tense. And they've stuck with the whole they're really strong and jumpy thing. But yeah, just some of it. Yeah, the retread. I also found the stuff that it incorporated from Alien Resurrection just to be not smart. Like the baby. I didn't.
Agreed. Yeah. Oh, see, I like the baby. I liked it conceptually. I like the baby.
Yeah, I think as an idea, it's not bad. I think what it ended up being is, if it's possible, even more gross than that weird white alien in Alien Resurrection.
Hands down. And I thought that was,
and that thing
grossest
was
and weirdest.
Horrifying. But not because it was scary, because it was gross.
No.
You know?
Well, I mean, and we have this conversation, I feel like, all the time. I don't find any of the Alien movies scary. Like, for me, they're not. That's not why I like them. I know for a lot of people, that's why they like them. That's not for me. That's not.
I find the first one to be, if not scary, it's super tense and super creepy.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. But to me, they hinge on Ripley. And I come back to this because I feel like my same issue with Terminator films, like, you need Sarah Connor. I feel like for Alien films, you need Ripley. And don't get me wrong, I think Cailee Spaeny is a great final girl. I really do. And she's doing a great job. But to me, there's so much missing because you don't have Ripley. You don't have that person who is just tenacious and resilient and is just determined to survive and to protect those that she loves. I don't know. So to me, it's missing something crucial.
Yeah.
As well as I think it explains too much, which again, Alien and Aliens don't. But like, you're dealing with the same things. Like, we're dealing with the quarantine issues. Like, Andy wants to quarantine Kay, Isabella Merced, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. And we're dealing with shady, androids. We're dealing with duplicitous androids again, and we're dealing with,
it's very derivative. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and we're dealing with, we think we're okay, and surprise, in the last act we're not. And so so that's just my problem. It's like, I get what they're doing, and I think so much of what they did was great, and I think a lot of people are going to love this.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's a well-made film. Like, I'm not saying like it's not, but it's just like, and maybe if you've never seen an Alien film before, maybe you're going to love this. Maybe you're going to be like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I think, derivative is a perfect word. I think it's way too derivative.
Yeah, a little bit of a bummer, but.
Yeah. But I still had a good time. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I was
no, it's
oh, this
definitely
sucks. Like, no, I enjoyed it.
Held my interest,
Yes.
There was never a time that I was just like, can we get the fuck on with this, please? So
I do wish some of the other characters had been fleshed out a little more, which again, I can't not think about Aliens because James Cameron is so fucking good at introducing characters and having character development in such a quick way. Like, just such a quick shot within the first 60 seconds of a character's introduction, you kind of get a vibe of who they are and what they're all about. And I wish we got a little bit more of that here.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Little past my bedtime, everybody.
All right, Dave, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I don't.
on
It's
Alien
just, it's
Romulus?
so far and away better than the last two Ridley Scott Alien movies, which are just
Oh God,
in my
yes.
mind.
Yes.
I hesitate to use words like tragedy when it comes to film, but they're tragic, and not because they're tragic stories, because they're fucking horrible. And it's kind of amazing when Ridley Scott misses, he misses big. I never come out of a Ridley Scott movie going, that was okay. It's either that was really good or I hated the fuck out of that.
Yeah, whereas I fall somewhere more in the middle with Prometheus, just because, like I said, I love Noomi Rapace, and I like that abortion
Prometheus
scene.
has some really good ideas that it just fucking pisses all over in Alien Covenant.
It does. I know.
It's like Aliens to Alien 3. It's like you set up all this shit and then none of it happens.
Yeah. Although I think Alien 3 is a good movie, just not a good alien movie.
It had potential. If only they had done the Wood Planet. Oh, well.
What are you going to do? All right. Well, let's do a recap. So, Close to You is in theaters now. I would definitely recommend it. Go see it when you can. Skincare is also in theaters now. And would you guys recommend it?
No.
Sorry, Evan, that was a bit. No. I'm with you. I also would not. But Dave, you're a tepid kind of sort of maybe?
Not really. I don't know. I can't recommend it.
That took a turn, and I love it.
It's my Nora Desmond turn. There you go.
I feel like we should dig into that more. Like, that's weird.
It was fucking weird.
Choice. Yeah, not good weird. Because I'm here for the good weird. All right. And Alien Romulus. I almost said Resurrection. Alien Romulus. Dave, would you recommend? That's playing in theaters now too. Would you recommend it?
A qualified yes. If you're going in expecting to have your fucking mind blown, you're not. But if you just want a better thrill ride than what you've been getting for the past couple of Alien films, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. I feel very much the same way. Like, I think there are enough good things here. It's a decent film. Not decent as in like, it's decent, but yeah. I concur. But oh man, it just, the retread just really pissed me off. Anyway, you're better than that. You can do better films. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Peace Patron, Heather Sachs. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
A huge thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor. Otto, thank you so much for making us sound great week after week.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. You can also check us out at our website, spoilerpiece.com. You can find us all over the place on social media. We're at Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, and we're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can email us, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
Let us know. Did you love Alien Romulus and we are way off base? And did you love skincare and we're also way off base on that? Or do you agree with us? We love to hear from you. We love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to reach out to us on social media or call or email us. And if you like the show, please consider rating and reviewing us. That helps us get the word out about the show, helps a lot. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, and that will take you to your preferred platform of choice. You can also just go directly to Spotify or to Apple Podcasts and rate us there. And you also can get merch. If you go to our website, it'll take you to our TeePublic store, and you can rock all the merch and show off your love for your favorite spoiling podcast. Sidebar, I am so glad that we could talk about the spoilers about Alien Romulus, because I don't know how you talk about it and not dig into the spoilers.
Yeah.
So check out our merch. And if you really, really like the show, consider joining our Patreon if you're not a patron already. For $5 a month, you get access to weekly bonus episodes like this week's, where we talk about Heathers in honor of Shannon Doherty. We had a great conversation talking about that film, which we all enjoyed. And you can also get to vote in monthly polls. And if you are a patron already, thank you so much. And if you're not, like I said, consider joining. And thank you for listening to the show. My name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at OpinionS World or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
My name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on all of the socials, more or less, as Dave Sees Movies.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of Your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the Instant Pictures podcast. And similarly on most of the social media, and you can follow me as Real Recon, and that's real as a film.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.